Imagine waking up in the middle of a freezing night, cutting your way out of your own tent, and running barefoot into a blizzard. Weeks later, rescuers discover your campsite abandoned, your footprints leading into the darkness, and your body lying in the snow alongside 8 others. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened. This is the chilling mystery of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. If you enjoy true crime, unsolved mysteries, and real stories that continue to puzzle investigators decades later, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next investigation. Now, let's uncover one of history's most baffling mysteries. Winter, 1959. Deep within the frozen Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, 9 young hikers set out on an expedition that would become one of history's greatest mysteries. They were experienced, well-prepared, and determined to reach their destination. But within days, every one of them would be dead. What investigators discovered in the snow would leave experts searching for answers for decades. The expedition was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student known for his leadership and survival skills. Joining him were 8 fellow students and graduates, all experienced hikers who had completed challenging winter expeditions before. They were adventurous, disciplined, and excited for the journey ahead, unaware that this would be the last trip of their lives. As January came to an end, the group prepared to leave civilization behind and enter one of the harshest environments on Earth. This is the true story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. On January 23, 1959, the expedition officially began. The group departed from Sverdlovsk by train, carrying food, cameras, journals, skis, and enough supplies to survive weeks in the frozen wilderness. Spirits were high as they laughed, sang, and looked forward to earning the highest certification in Soviet winter hiking. None of them imagined the journey would become a mystery remembered around the world. After a long train ride, the hikers would soon leave the comfort of civilization behind. After days of traveling by train, the group reached the small northern settlement of Vizhay, one of the last inhabited places before the vast wilderness. Here, they checked their equipment, organized their supplies, and prepared for the demanding trek ahead. Beyond this point, there would be no towns, no roads, and no easy way to call for help. The next morning, the hikers set out on skis, leaving civilization behind as they ventured deeper into the snow-covered mountains. One member of the expedition, Yuri Yudin, suddenly became ill with severe pain caused by a chronic medical condition. Realizing he couldn't continue, he made the difficult decision to turn back. His 8 friends and Igor Dyatlov continued into the mountains, waving goodbye. It was the last time anyone would see them alive. By chance, Yudin became the expedition's only survivor. As the group disappeared into the endless snow, no one could have imagined that a simple illness had just saved a life. With Yuri Yudin gone, the remaining 8 hikers and their leader, Igor Dyatlov, a total of 9 people, pressed onward through the rugged Ural Mountains. Each day, they skied farther into the wilderness, carefully following maps and compass bearings. Despite freezing temperatures and strong winds, the group remained in high spirits, documenting their journey with photographs and writing detailed entries in their personal journals. At first, everything seemed to be going according to plan. But the mountain had other plans waiting for them. As the expedition pushed farther into the Ural Mountains, the weather grew increasingly unforgiving. Powerful wind swept across the open slopes, temperatures dropped well below freezing, and deep snow made every kilometer a struggle. Even for these experienced hikers, each step demanded determination.
Yes, Igor.
Yet their journals and photographs revealed a group that remained remarkably optimistic. But as the mountains became steeper and the weather harsher, a small mistake would soon alter the course of the entire expedition. On February 1, 1959, as snow and strong winds reduced visibility, the group drifted slightly off their intended route. Rather than lose the progress they had made, Igor Dyatlov decided to set up camp on the exposed slope of a mountain known as Kholat Syakhl, a name from the Montsi people that is often translated as Dead Mountain. It would become the expedition's final campsite. As darkness settled over the mountains, the hikers prepared for what they believed would be just another ordinary night. Before nightfall, the hikers worked together to pitch their large canvas tent into the frozen mountainside. They cooked a simple meal, adjusted their equipment, and likely discussed the next day's climb. Some wrote in their journals, while others took photographs that would later become the expedition's final known images. To them, it was just another night in the mountains. They had no reason to believe it would be their last as darkness closed in and the temperature continued to fall. An unimaginable event was about to unfold. As night fell over Kholat Syakhl, temperatures plunged to nearly -30 degrees Celsius, while powerful winds swept across the mountainside. Safe inside their tent, the hikers settled into their sleeping bags, believing they would continue their journey at first light. But sometime during the night, something happened, something so terrifying that all 9 of them fled into the freezing darkness, leaving almost everything behind. What could force experienced hikers to abandon the safety of their tent in the middle of a deadly blizzard? The answer would remain hidden beneath the snow. Before leaving, Igor Dyatlov had told his sports club that the expedition would send a telegram once they reached their destination. The expected date came and went, but no message arrived. At first, friends assumed the hikers had simply been delayed by bad weather. But as more days passed in complete silence, concern quickly turned into fear. With no word from the expedition, families and university officials knew they could no longer wait. A search mission was finally organized. On February 20, 1959, after nearly 3 weeks without contact, university volunteers, experienced mountaineers, and local rescue teams set out to find the missing expedition. As the search expanded, police and military personnel joined the effort, combing the snow-covered Ural Mountains for any sign of the 9 hikers. No one was prepared for what they were about to discover. After days of searching through the frozen wilderness, the rescuers finally spotted something half-buried beneath the snow. On February 26, 1959, the search team finally found the expedition's tent on the eastern slope of Kholat Syakhl. It was partially buried beneath snow, standing eerily silent against the frozen mountainside. At first glance, it appeared abandoned. But as rescuers moved closer, they noticed something deeply unsettling. The tent had been slashed open from the inside. What they discovered inside and around the tent would raise more questions than answers. As investigators examined the tent, they found almost everything the hikers would have needed to survive. Warm winter clothing, boots, food, cameras, journals, and personal belongings were still inside. It appeared the group had left in such a hurry that they hadn't even taken time to dress for the freezing temperatures outside. Whatever happened that night, it had forced them to flee almost immediately. Then the search team noticed something even more disturbing: tracks leading away from the tent and into the darkness. Just beyond the tent, investigators discovered a trail of footprints leading downhill toward a nearby forest. Surprisingly, the prints suggested the hikers had walked, not run. Some footprints were made by people wearing boots, others by hikers in socks, and a few appeared to have been made by bare feet. It was a baffling discovery. Why would experienced mountaineers calmly leave the safety of their tent, barely dressed, into temperatures far below freezing? Following the footprints through the snow, the search team headed toward the dark forest below the mountain. Following the footprints nearly a mile through the snow, the search team reached the edge of a dense cedar tree. There, beneath the towering branches, they made a heartbreaking discovery. The bodies of Yuri Krivonyshenko and Yuri Doroshenko lay near the remains of a small campfire. They were barefoot, dressed only in light clothing, suggesting they had desperately tried to survive after fleeing the tent. But the mystery was only beginning. Between the cedar tree and the abandoned tent, rescuers would soon uncover 3 more victims. As rescuers searched between the cedar tree and the abandoned tent, they uncovered 3 more bodies. They belonged to Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustam Slobodin. Their position suggested they had been moving back toward the tent when they collapsed, one after another. It appeared they had made a desperate attempt to return to the shelter, but never reached it. 5 members of the expedition had now been found. But 4 were still missing, and the deepest mystery was yet to be uncovered. Despite weeks of searching, the remaining 4 hikers seemed to have vanished. Heavy snowfall and dangerous conditions forced rescuers to suspend parts of the operation. Then, in May 1959, as the spring snow finally began to melt, search teams returned to the mountain. What they uncovered beneath the deep snow would transform a tragic accident into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Hidden inside a narrow ravine, the final 4 members of the expedition were finally found. Deep inside a snow-filled ravine, rescuers finally discovered the remaining 4 hikers: Ludmila Dubinina, Alexander Zolotaryov, Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, and Semyon Zolotaryov. Unlike the first 5 victims, these hikers were found wearing extra layers of clothing, some believed to have been taken from their companions. More puzzling still, several had suffered severe injuries that investigators struggled to explain. The strange condition of the final 4 would leave forensic experts searching for answers that remain debated to this day. Soviet investigators now faced a puzzle unlike any they had encountered before. They carefully documented the campsite, examined every piece of equipment, interviewed witnesses, and analyzed the hikers' journals, photographs, and autopsy reports. Yet with each new clue, the case became more confusing. The evidence seemed to point in different directions, offering no clear explanation for the tragedy. Then investigators uncovered another unusual detail, one that would spark decades of debate and speculation. The medical examinations revealed a baffling contrast. Some hikers had died primarily from hypothermia, while others had suffered devastating internal injuries, including fractured ribs and severe skull trauma. Yet, in several cases, there were few or no external wounds to match the force of those injuries. The lead forensic examiner later described the damage as comparable to the impact of a powerful car crash, leaving investigators searching for an explanation. But the injuries were only one part of the mystery. As investigators examined the evidence more closely, even stranger questions began to emerge. As investigators interviewed people who had been in the region that night, several witnesses reported seeing unusual orange lights moving across the distant night sky. Similar sightings were recorded by other groups in the northern Ural Mountains around the same time. While no definitive connection to the hikers was ever established, the reports added another layer of mystery to an already baffling case. The mysterious lights captured public attention, but investigators still needed to determine whether they were a clue, or simply a coincidence. During the investigation, tests revealed elevated levels of radioactive contamination on some pieces of clothing belonging to a few of the hikers. The discovery immediately raised questions. Had they unknowingly passed through a contaminated area, or was there another explanation? Investigators never established a definitive link between the radiation and the hikers' deaths, leaving yet another unanswered question in the case. As the evidence continued to pile up, investigators found themselves with more theories than answers. After months of examining the evidence, Soviet investigators officially closed the case. Their conclusion stated that the hikers had died as the result of a compelling natural force, a phrase that was never clearly defined. No detailed explanation was provided, and many case files were restricted from public access for years. Instead of ending the mystery, the verdict only fueled more questions. With so many unanswered questions, people across the world began offering their own explanations for what happened on Dead Mountain. One of the earliest theories suggested that a small slab avalanche struck the campsite. According to this idea, shifting snow may have threatened to crush the tent, forcing the hikers to escape immediately. In the darkness and blizzard, they may have planned to return once the danger had passed. While this theory explains some of the evidence, many researchers argue that it still leaves several important questions unanswered. If it wasn't a typical avalanche, what else could have driven 9 experienced hikers into the freezing night? Another theory points to katabatic winds, powerful, icy gusts that can race down mountain slopes without warning. These winds are capable of producing deafening noise, violent turbulence, and extreme wind chill. Some researchers believe the hikers may have feared their tent would collapse or become buried, prompting them to leave temporarily. However, like the avalanche theory, this explanation still doesn't answer every question. As scientists debated the power of nature, others wondered if the answer lay not in the weather, but in the mountain itself. Because the Soviet Union kept many military activities secret during the Cold War, some people speculated that the hikers had accidentally entered an area where classified weapons or parachute mine tests were taking place. Supporters of this theory point to the reported orange lights and the restricted investigation files. However, no publicly available evidence has conclusively shown that the hikers were killed by a military experiment, and historians continue to debate the idea. While the military theory gained worldwide attention, other explanations became even more extraordinary. As news of the Dyatlov Pass incident spread around the world, increasingly extraordinary theories began to emerge. Some suggested encounters with extraterrestrials, others blamed the mythical Yeti, while a few claimed supernatural forces were responsible. These ideas captured public imagination, but no credible evidence has ever supported any of them. They remain part of the legend surrounding the case rather than the historical investigation. With speculation growing louder over the decades, scientists decided to return to the evidence itself. Decades after the tragedy, advances in forensic science and computer modeling inspired investigators and researchers to take another look at the Dyatlov Pass incident. They re-examined photographs, weather records, terrain maps, and the original case files, hoping that modern technology could answer questions that had remained unsolved since 1959. For the first time in decades, the mystery was being viewed through a scientific lens. The new findings pointed toward a possible explanation, but not everyone was convinced. Concluded that the hikers most likely died after a small slab avalanche forced them to leave their tent. Combined with extreme cold, darkness, and hurricane-force winds, the conditions became impossible to survive. Later scientific studies showed that this explanation could account for many of the known facts. Even so, some researchers believe certain details of the case remain unresolved. More than 6 decades later, the Dyatlov Pass incident continues to spark debate among scientists, historians, and mystery enthusiasts around the world. Although modern investigations have provided a plausible explanation, several details continue to be debated. Why did the hikers travel so far from their tent before attempting to return? Why did some survive longer than others? And why did they choose the actions they did in those critical moments? These unanswered questions are why the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the world's most fascinating cold cases. To better understand those final moments, researchers carefully reconstructed the hikers' movement step by step. By combining the footprints, the locations where the hikers were found, and the evidence at the campsite, investigators pieced together a likely sequence of events. After leaving the tent, the group stayed together as they made their way downhill toward the shelter of the forest. There, they built a small fire and tried to survive the freezing night. Eventually, some attempted the difficult journey back to the tent, while others sought protection in the nearby ravine. This reconstruction explains many of the known facts, but one question remains at the center of the mystery: what caused them to leave the tent in the first place? Beyond the theories and unanswered questions, it's important to remember that the Dyatlov Pass incident was a human tragedy. The 9 hikers were young students and adventurers with dreams, ambitions, and families waiting for them at home. What began as a challenging winter expedition ended in a loss that would forever be remembered by their loved ones and by history. Although decades have passed, the mountain where they lost their lives has never been forgotten. More than 6 decades have passed since that cold February night, yet the Dyatlov Pass incident continues to fascinate investigators, historians, scientists, and mystery enthusiasts across the globe. Books have been written, documentaries have been produced, and countless expeditions have returned to the mountain, all searching for the same answer. But despite decades of research, the complete truth may never be known. Even today, the silent mountain guards its secrets, leaving each generation to examine the evidence and draw its own conclusions. After decades of investigation, scientific studies, and countless theories, one fact remains unchanged: no one can say with complete certainty what happened on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl that winter night. The evidence points toward a tragic combination of natural forces and human survival decisions, yet some details continue to puzzle experts. Perhaps the mountain has revealed all it ever will. In the end, the Dyatlov Pass incident isn't remembered because every question was answered, but because some questions still remain. Among the most valuable pieces of evidence were the cameras recovered from the expedition. Once the film was developed, investigators found photographs of smiling faces, breathtaking mountain landscapes, and the hikers working together as they traveled through the snow. These images captured the expedition's final happy moments, offering a rare glimpse into the lives of 9 people who had no idea they were creating history. But the photographs were only part of the story. The hikers had also left behind something even more personal. Alongside the cameras, investigators recovered the hikers' personal journals. Their entries described the challenges of the journey, moments of laughter, and the excitement of exploring the Ural Mountains. Nothing in the journals hinted at fear or danger. Instead, they painted the picture of a close-knit team enjoying an adventure together, making the events that followed even more heartbreaking. These journals became more than expedition notes. They became the final words of a journey that would never be completed. Today, the 9 hikers are remembered not simply as victims of an unsolved mystery, but as skilled adventurers who shared a passion for exploration. They were students, engineers, and friends who embraced the challenge of winter mountaineering with courage and determination. Their story has become a lasting reminder of both the beauty and the unforgiving power of nature. As the years passed, the place where their journey ended would forever carry the name of their leader. In the years that followed, the remote mountain pass where the tragedy unfolded became known around the world as Dyatlov Pass, named in honor of the expedition's leader, Igor Dyatlov. What was once an isolated route through the northern Ural Mountains has since become a place of remembrance, drawing historians, hikers, and researchers determined to understand what happened on that cold winter night. Even today, people continue to retrace the expedition's footsteps, hoping the mountain might reveal one final clue. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident continues to challenge investigators and captivate millions around the world. Was it an unfortunate combination of extreme weather, human decisions, and the unforgiving power of nature? Or is there still a missing piece of the puzzle waiting to be discovered? Perhaps the final answer will remain buried beneath the snow forever. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the story of the Dyatlov expedition will never be forgotten. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most extensively studied mysteries in modern history. Every photograph, journal entry, weather record, and piece of evidence has been examined countless times. Yet each new investigation seems to answer one question while raising another. Perhaps that is why this story continues to inspire debate, research, and curiosity more than 6 decades later. But beyond every theory and investigation lies something even more important: the memory of the 9 people who never returned home. Long before they became part of one of history's greatest mysteries, they were simply 9 friends united by a love of adventure. They challenged themselves against one of nature's harshest environments with courage, determination, and trust in one another. Today, they are remembered not for how their journey ended, but for the spirit of exploration that brought them together in the first place. And although the mystery may never be completely solved, their story continues to inspire people around the world.
Copy. Sticking to the ridge.
The Dyatlov Pass incident also changed the way many people think about winter mountaineering. It serves as a reminder that even the most experienced adventurers can face situations beyond their control. In extreme environments, weather can change within minutes, visibility can disappear without warning, and survival often depends on decisions made in a matter of seconds. Nature's beauty and its danger can exist side by side. While valuable lessons were learned from this tragedy, the search for the complete truth has never truly ended. More than 60 years have passed since 9 young explorers set out into the Ural Mountains, never knowing they were beginning a journey that would become one of history's greatest mysteries. Investigations have come and gone. Scientists have offered explanations. Historians have debated the evidence. Yet the silence of Dyatlov Pass remains. Perhaps some mysteries can be explained, while others simply remind us how small we are in the face of nature. Whatever happened on that cold winter night, the courage of those 9 hikers will never be forgotten. And with that, one final question remains. More than 6 decades later, the mystery of Dyatlov Pass continues to challenge everything we think we know. Was it an unfortunate chain of natural events, or is there still a missing piece of the story waiting to be uncovered? We'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think really happened to the Dyatlov expedition? Share your theory in the comments below. If you enjoyed this documentary and want to explore more true crime cases, unsolved mysteries, and forgotten stories from history, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you never miss our next investigation. Until next time, stay curious, keep asking questions, and remember, sometimes history's greatest mysteries refuse to stay buried. Although more than 6 decades have passed, researchers continue to study the Dyatlov Pass incident using new technology, historical records, and scientific analysis. Each new discovery brings us a little closer to understanding what happened, yet the mountain still guards many of its secrets. Perhaps one day, new evidence will finally answer the questions that have puzzled the world since 1959. Until then, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of history's most compelling unsolved mysteries. Every mystery leaves behind a lesson, and every unanswered question inspires the next search for the truth. The Dyatlov Pass incident is more than an unsolved mystery, it is a reminder of humanity's endless desire to explore the unknown. Every generation returns to this story with new questions, new technology, and new ideas. Yet the courage of the 9 hikers remains the one fact that has never changed. Their journey may have ended on a frozen mountain, but their legacy continues to inspire explorers, historians, and curious minds around the world. And perhaps that is the greatest legacy of all, not the mystery itself, but the determination to keep searching for the truth. The winds still sweep across Dyatlov Pass, just as they did on that winter night in 1959. The snow continues to fall, covering the mountain with the same quiet stillness that has endured for generations. While science has answered many questions, some mysteries may never be solved completely. Perhaps the mountain holds the final piece of the story, or perhaps it has already revealed everything it ever will. Only time will tell. But one thing will always remain beyond debate. Before this became one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, it was the story of 9 ordinary people who shared an extraordinary passion for adventure. They set out to test their skills, explore the beauty of the Ural Mountains, and create memories that would last a lifetime. Instead, their journey became part of history. Today, we remember Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, Rustam Slobodin, Yuri Doroshenko, Yuri Krivonishenko, Ludmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, Semyon Zolotaryov, and Nikolai Thibault-Brignol. Their story continues to remind us of both the wonder and the unforgiving power of nature. As we leave Dyatlov Pass behind, one final message remains. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. Despite decades of investigations, scientific research, and countless theories, the complete truth may never be known. Perhaps the mountain has already revealed all it can, or perhaps one final clue still waits beneath the snow. What do you believe happened to the Dyatlov expedition? Was it the overwhelming force of nature, a tragic series of survival decisions, or something we still don't fully understand? Share your thoughts in the comments below, we'd love to read your perspective. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next journey into history's greatest true crime cases and unsolved mysteries. Thank you for watching. Until our next investigation, stay curious, question everything, and never stop searching for the truth.